We'll start with the prayers. Sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu sah viryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we have for our study a beautiful text called as Vichara Sagara, a fairly advanced text in Vedanta. For those people who have studied the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, and they are keen seekers to understand the significance of Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. There are very few texts which deal with this particular topic. We have seen two texts, Naishkarmya Siddhi and Shruti Sara Samudharanam. We have seen these two texts before, and now we are taken up Vichara Sagara. The Upanishads tell us that my nature is pure consciousness, pure existence, and pure bliss. That is the central teaching of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. All of us start the spiritual journey with the notion that I am the body, and then we try to learn what this spiritual essence in me is. So when we study the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, we get the knowledge. But many a times we are not able to get the deep significance that we are something different than the body. Most of us, almost 90-95% of the people or seekers, after the study of the Prasthana Trayam, they still are not able to, they can understand, but they are not able to clearly get the firmness in themselves. So this text deals with how to do the inquiry a little bit more deeper, and the author has taken 538 topics, split into 7 chapters. The first 3 chapters, in my opinion, may not be so relevant, but the 4th, 5th, and 6th chapters, 4, 5, 6, 7, these are more relevant, because the 4th chapter deals with the Uttama Adhikari, the highest student. The 5th chapter deals with the mediocre student, and the 6th chapter deals with the beginner student who is too much caught in logical analysis. The first type, the Uttama student, is the one who is got the necessary qualifications for the study. That is the chapter we are doing now, chapter 4. Today I will try to complete the chapter 4, and next week, if you are able to finish chapter 4 today, we will do chapter 5. 6 and 7 is just going to be just a brief idea given in this series of talks. So today's we have done chapter 4 up to page 35. Last week, towards the end, I introduced the topic of 4 types of consciousness. Whenever we study the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita, they tell us that I am the Jiva and there is a creator for the world called as Ishvara. I have not created my body, I have not created my mind, I have not created anything in the universe. I'm just born in the universe. So if I'm born in the universe, there must be somebody who has created this universe before me. And that is Ishvara. So our analysis begins, I am a Jiva and there is a creator called as Ishvara. 2. What Upanishads tell us is that there is a common element between the two, between Jiva and Ishvara. That common element is called as consciousness, existence. There is something, let's take it as consciousness, existence, pure consciousness, pure existence. If we find ourselves in this world, we find that I am existing. That is the first thing which we come to know. I exist. I exist, I can say only if I'm conscious of the existence. I am. I am includes existence and consciousness together. After that, we put adjectives like we put other add-ons like body, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the, I see the world, all that is all added on. But I am is known to all of us, it's self-evident. So consciousness and existence, everybody knows. You don't need to come to Vedanta to understand or to know that I exist, to know that I'm conscious. We don't need anything. We don't need any pramanam, nothing. I know I am. That's it. But after that, I don't understand who I am, because then I start putting on add-ons to the I am. I am the body. Then what happens is all the attributes of the body get related to I am. Similarly, I am the mind. All the attributes gets added to the mind. So this jiva, I the jiva, have got, if I want to know what is this pure existence and pure consciousness, then I have to try to understand, to separate what I'm experiencing today and then remove the pure consciousness from it. So this I am is common between Jiva and Ishvara. It exists by itself. It is appearing as the Jiva. It is appearing as the Ishvara in the waking state. This is our level of inquiry now, because we are doing this entire inquiry in the waking state. In the waking state, there is a creator, I must be a creator for this world, and I am the Jiva. So what they say is that that pure consciousness is reflected in the mind of a Jiva. This is how Vedanta tries to understand our real nature. I am pure. Pure means what? Without the body, without the mind, I am that pure Atma, pure consciousness. In this analysis, 4 words are used: Jiva, Kutastha, Ishvara, and Brahman. You must know what these four words are. They are very significant words. This is a technical analysis, so you must understand the significance of each of these four words, because to understand that pure consciousness as separate from the body and mind, we need to do this analysis. Because our experience is, I am a part of this world, I have got this body, I have got the mind, I am interacting with there's so many interactions happening, the whole day life goes on. So the first factor we should understand is who is this Jiva? Jiva's technical definition is, it is a consciousness which is reflected in the mind. The mind is the medium, is like the mirror. So there is a pure consciousness which gets reflected in one body. Let's say take one body. And this is called as micro reflection. Then the same consciousness exists without the reflection. With reference to the jiva, it is called as kutasthaha. Kutasthaha means it is the original consciousness without the mind for the individual. Let's go to the other side, Ishvara. Ishvara is what? Is the same one consciousness which is getting reflected in the entire material universe. Material universe is a reflecting medium. That means the mountains, the rivers, like my body is a reflecting medium for the consciousness. The body is manifesting the consciousness. Similarly, the whole world of Panchabhutas, the five elements, is manifesting that pure consciousness. When we take the reflection in the world, we call it Ishvara. When the same total consciousness without the prapancha, without the five elements, without this world, it exists by itself, we call it Brahman. And then I am not going into the second part of the example here. I have put Jala Akasha, Ghata Akasha, Megha Akasha, and Maha Akasha. These are the terms which are used with reference to the one space principle, which can be seen in a bucket compared to the body. Like we can say the body is like the bucket. So in the water in the bucket, you can see the one sunlight getting reflected in the bucket. So I am not taking that for these space example here. I want to only restrict it to the Jiva and Ishvara principle only, because we have seen this portion in the last session. I just want to focus so that we can move forward. So Mahavakya says there is a oneness. Oneness in Sanskrit is called as Aikyam. And what is this oneness? They say that the Jiva, individual body, and the total universe, there is a oneness between the two. This is called as Mahavakya. It is coming from the Upanishads, and this is the central teaching of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, which is Jiva Brahma Aikyam. Oneness is not between Jiva and Ishvara. Jiva and Ishvara is the reflected mediums. The body and the totality cannot be one. The whole universe is so big and this body is so small. The mind is also so small. The whole universe the total mind is, you cannot compare the total mind with the individual mind. It's not possible. What is oneness is kutastha. That means the adhishthanam, that original consciousness, which is the substratum for the jiva, and which is within the mind of the jiva, it gets reflected in the mind of the jiva. That is the same as the original consciousness of the totality, which is called as Brahma Chaitanya. And this Brahma Chaitanya, you can see it outside in the entire universe. Like I have my mind, there's a totality. God also has a mind. In between, there are two reflections which are happening. There are two mirrors which are there. But when the mirror is removed in sleep state, what remains is the one consciousness, which is called as Brahman in the Upanishads. That one consciousness is called as Brahman, which is the ultimate essence of this entire universe. This is how Vedanta tries to explain that I am that pure consciousness, which I am even during the waking state. And during the waking state, it is just a reflection of that pure consciousness in this body. I get confused because I have superimposed the body on that pure consciousness. So when I have to look at the body and mind, remove the body and mind, and understand who am I, then this is the way the teaching happens. I negate the body and mind intellectually, and I own up that pure existence consciousness as my real nature. You can call it by any name, consciousness, existence, bliss, ananda, Brahman. You can call it any name, but ultimately don't bother about the names. Understand it is me. I am that pure consciousness all the time. This whole teaching is talking about me. I am. While this teaching is going on itself, we must get that glimpse of the reality in me, which is me. That is the central teaching of this entire 4th chapter in this particular chart here. We'll go forward now. This at the reflection at the Vyavaharika level, there is no aikyam. That means during the waking state at this transactional field, the micro reflection has got a lot of disadvantages, which is the jiva. And the jiva have got the inferior attributes. Like my knowledge is very limited. I know only little small things, whereas God has got the whole knowledge of the whole universe. Superior attributes. So in the limited Vyavaharika transactional field, there is no aikyam. There is no oneness. Aikyam is only at the level of pure consciousness. So we have finished 4 topics of chapter 4. We have 3 more topics to go. The 5th topic is basically dealing with the jiva analysis, more about the analysis of the jiva and about this Mahavakyam, more deeper into the oneness. So jiva is what? Mind with reflected consciousness, or kutastha. Kutastha means a pure consciousness with mind enclosed in it. When you refer it straight away as kutastha, you can say it is mind enclosed in that pure consciousness, or you can say jiva is the mind reflected in that, it's a consciousness reflected in the mind. Now, who gains this knowledge of oneness. In Panchadasi 7th chapter, there are 7 steps of this spiritual study. And the 7 steps are mentioned here. I will quickly run through this, but then there is another note where I will go a little bit deeper into these 7 topics. At that time, I will tell you what are these 7, what do they mean. I have a separate note on that. Just to illustrate, ignorance is the first one, ajnanam. Avriti, that means concealing. Power, that means the Atma is covered. The concealing power is called as Avriti. Vikshepa means the projection which happens in the mind, which is called as Bhranti. Then the 4th stage of a journey of a jiva is he understands what is Brahman, Parokshanyana. That means he understands there is something called as Brahman. 5th stage is he understands that Brahman is he himself. One in one. We understand that Brahman is not talking about some entity somewhere, but it is me. I am that pure consciousness. Once I get this knowledge, what happens is I get rid of my sorrow. Dukkha nivritti. And the last stage is Sukha Prapti. Sukha Prapti means I know that I am that pure happiness. These are the 7 steps involved in the journey. Sapta avasthas, they belong to the reflected consciousness. It does not belong to the kutastha. Kutastha means the pure consciousness. Because always whenever there is a transaction, mind is involved. Mind is involved, body is involved, time, space is involved, then only interactions take place. That means the entire waking state. How can a jiva claim aham brahma asmi? Jiva is only a reflected consciousness. How can it claim that it is the pure consciousness is one of the questions which the Tattva Drishti, the student asks. And he also asks one more question. When the jiva claims that he is Brahmasmi, is that I the reflected consciousness or is it the original consciousness? To this answer, the Guru teaches him that you can say that the jiva can refer to either the reflected consciousness as Brahman, or he can refer to the original consciousness also as Brahman. There is a wide, that's why he says it can intend to any, both are possible. I can refer to the reflected consciousness, which is the mind, or it can reflect it, it can refer to the original consciousness without the mind. If I refers to the reflected consciousness, it means negation of the reflected consciousness as mithya. See, the reflection of the Atma together with the mind is called as the ego, I, which is what we use in all our transaction. I walk, I listen, I talk, I work. So all this, I am born, all this is all ego. So when I say Aham Brahmasmi, when you say, it can mean that you have negated intellectually this ego. When you do that, it is called as Bhada Samanadi Karanyam. This is a slightly grammatical portion, which I won't go into the depth, but just to give you that when you take that reflected consciousness and say that that reflected consciousness is the Brahman, what the jiva does is he intellectually he says this ego is false. I am not the ego, I am that pure Brahman. This is one form of understanding Aham Brahma Asmi. In Sanskrit, it's called as Bada Samanadi Karanya Vakyam. There is a lot of analysis on this in the actual text, which we will study when we do the actual text. Aikya Samanadi Karanam means you are focusing on the original consciousness itself and say that Kutastha is Brahman. Here you are not talking about, your emphasis or your focus is not on the mind portion. It is not on the ego portion. When we do this, it is called as Aikya Samanadi Karanya Vakyam. That means this Mahavakyam Tattvamasi, it can be understood as Bada Samanadi Karanya Vakyam or Aikya Samanadi Karanya Vakyam. When you look at the Aikya Samanadhikarana, means that pure, your focus is on that only pure consciousness. And just clearly say that that consciousness between the Jiva and the Ishvara is only one. That is called as Aikyam. At the same time, you can also look at it and say that that consciousness which is appearing as the ego is nothing else but that Brahman. So with this, the Mahavakya portion is over as far as the 4th chapter is concerned. Then there are some other topics which are there. And that comes from, so far if you see, out of 538 topics, 200 topics are over. And in this portion, 18 topics that we see here, there are three topics. Diversion portion is taken up. And what are the 3 topics? Side topics. These are side topics which are discussed so that our understanding of this consciousness becomes more deeper. And one of the topic is Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti. These are technical terms, but this is how we understand pure consciousness and we understand knowledge. What is that pure knowledge? Any vritti means a thought, okay? It removes ignorance. There are 2 functions with every thought. One, it removes ignorance of a particular object. And second is, it reveals the object. Suppose I see a pot outside, my consciousness which is reflected in my mind, through the eyes, it goes outside. That's what I'm going to explain now further. And when it goes and it reaches the pot, I come to know the pot. Before that, that is what I'm going to explain in this chart, in this sheet here, which says Pramata, Pramanam, Pramayam, and Prama. This explains the theory of knowledge. But before that, how do we get knowledge? Because this topic deals with knowledge itself, how knowledge happens in the mind. There are 6 pramanams. Pramanams means instruments of knowledge. I can have knowledge through pratyaksham. Pratyaksham means through the sense organs. We have 5 sense organs. They bring the inputs from the external world, and then I can get the knowledge, what we call it as perception. Then the second is called as anumanam. Anumanam means I don't see the fire directly, but I can infer there is a fire because I see a smoke. Then there are other forms of knowledges which is also called as upamana, arthapatti, anupalabdhi, and shabda. Shabda is important for us. These are all upamana, arthapatti, they all are nothing else but a combination of pratyaksham only, because they all deal with knowledge coming from the sense organs. Shabda means what? Words. I can use words and the words can give knowledge. Like the sense organs can give knowledge, words can also give knowledge. Jiva, Kutastha, Brahma, Ishvara, Chaitanyam, these are all the how we have understood how that pure knowledge is reflected, and then we experience this knowledge in the outside world. Whenever we have knowledge, knowledge involves four factors: the knower, then the knowing instrument, then the known object, and the knowledge. These are the four aspects of any knowledge which takes place in the mind. If these four are not there, there is no knowledge taking place. Suppose there is no knower, I, the mind is not awake, then there is no knowledge. So the knower is the ego I, the ahamkara, that is the consciousness enclosed in the mind. That is called as the knower. And what is the knowing instrument? Knowing instrument can be the eyes, it can be the ears for the sound, forms, touch, all these are all knowledge. And this happens only when the mind is there. That means a vritti is developed, consciousness is reflected in the mind. That reflected consciousness is called as the ego. Then this ego I, that is the knower I. That is the first thing you should understand. Consciousness by itself is pure. It exists by itself. It has got no vyavahara, no transactions, nothing. That is my real nature, which is what I am in my sleep state. I am still the same, even now. But now I am with the mind, I have got the sense organs, and I've got the body, I see the world. So this is a transactional field. In this transactional field, I am the knower and I am using my instrument, which is called as pramanam, pramana chaitanyam. Because chaitanyam is pure consciousness is reflected in the instrument. The eyes have got consciousness. My ears have got consciousness. They are all called as pramanam. Prameyam means what? Prameyam means it is object, known object. The whole world is prameyam. For me, you are prameyam. For you, I am prameyam. So when that happens, what happens is my consciousness through the sense organs reaches the object and takes the shape of the object. I come to know, I see your form, I get that consciousness. Through the eyes, it comes to you and it takes that form. Similarly, the cycle, motor, the whole world. So that is how knowledge takes place. The vritti goes out through the sense organs and then it envelops the sense organs and it reveals the sense organs. It envelops the sense objects and it reveals the sense objects. And the knowledge which is rising is called as prama. This prama is a knowledge which happens in the intellect. I know the object outside. So consciousness is associated with the knowledge happening in the intellect. It is associated with the sense organs. It is associated with the sense objects. And it is associated with the knower, primarily with the knower. In the fourth chapter, for a highly intelligent student, the Guru tries to explain about this Brahman purely as pure consciousness and says that the knowledge which is taking place is because of consciousness. It's a very, very deep study of that consciousness itself. Very, very deep study. I'm just giving you a glimpse of it here. I may not be able to explain the full, but when that thought, this entire fourth chapter is driven by thought and thought and thought and knowledge. It's all a study of epistemology or the science of knowledge. So it goes a little bit deeper here. It says that the vritti, till it reaches, it is called as pramana chaitanyam, vritti vyapti. That means the thought from the mind till it reaches the object, it is called as vritti vyapti. And then it says that that thought, once it reveals the object, then what happens? That is called as phala vyapti. That means it is got the consciousness has the power to make the whole universe known to me through my mind. Through the mind's thoughts, that is the power of Brahman. That is the power of consciousness. That is the power of Sat, pure existence. So I am not this limited body which is coming and going, not this body which was born. But what the teacher is trying to teach is, you are that consciousness. Understand what is this consciousness? What is this pure consciousness? How does it function? What is its role in this entire creation? And then you will realize that you are that consciousness which is immortal. It is never dies. If there is somebody in this universe seeing the world, it is that consciousness. So take the mind away from the body, away from the small little problems you and I face, and it teaches me to take the mind to that consciousness which is in my mind, revealing the whole universe to me by the process, two-pronged process. One is called as vritti vyapti, which is the thought which goes outside through the sense organs and then reveals the object. This is one part of one of the topics. Another discussion which takes place is this consciousness, is it avacheda? That means, is it enclosed in the mind or is it abhasa? Is it reflected or is it enclosed in the mind? Very beautiful discussion which happens in the text. Is it just that pure consciousness is enclosed in the mind or is it reflected in the mind? And a lot of discussion takes place. And the author finally says, Abhasavada, that means the reflected theory of that consciousness in the mind has more advantages because we can explain the travel of a jiva. We can also explain how the three states happen. That means there is a pure consciousness, which is what I am in my sleep state, without ignorance. One point you should always add, when you talk about my nature, I am pure consciousness in the sleep state without ignorance. That very important is without avidya. With ignorance, you cannot say I am pure consciousness. because ignorance is what is covering the nature. So the travel of, you see, in the Bhagavad Gita and all that, and also in Brahma and in the Karma Kanda portion, it says that the jiva travels to so many lokas. It can go to heaven, and it can also take up births in different bodies. All the travel can be explained if it is a reflection. That means my mind is a reflection. Without the reflection, I am that pure consciousness. That's all. Actually, the theory part and all may sound very difficult, but when you try to apply it to yourself, it's very easy. I am Brahman. I am that pure consciousness. It's very easy to realize it rather than understand the way sometimes we go into so many analysis. Okay, then another question which comes up by the student is, how can we get the direct knowledge of Brahman? Again, related to the knowledge, theory of knowledge. What the student is saying is, Brahman is not available to the sense organs, therefore direct knowledge of Brahman is not possible. The student says that direct knowledge means what? I must be able to see Brahman. I must be able to hear Brahman. I must be able to touch Brahman. So he says, when Brahman cannot be indriya agocharatvat brahmanaha pratyaksha jnanam na sambhavati. That means if sense organs cannot know Brahman, how do you say that I am Brahman? How can I say I am Brahman? How can I? When I'm not using my sense organs, how? So to that, the Guru analyzes and teaches him there are three types of knowledge. One is what we learn from the sense organs. The second, that is called as Brahmanyanam. It is not possible through the Indriya. I agree. The second knowledge, that knowledge can be of three types. One is through the sense organs. The second is Shabda Jnanam. Shabda Jnanam is direct Jnanam of Brahman in Shabda. That is what Mahavakyam is teaching. Through words, it is teaching that you are that. And Sakshi, that means there is that pure consciousness, which if I can learn to say I am that, that is called as Aparoksha Jnana. Aparoksha Jnana means it is direct knowledge of me, myself as Brahman. And then he gives a very important definition of what is Pratyaksham. The condition for knowledge to happen, this is all a little bit more deeper aspect of the knowledge theory. I'll just quickly run through it so that you get a glimpse of it. He says that a condition is very important when you say Pratyaksham. That means there should be a Jnana Vritti and a Jnana Vishaya. They must have a direct contact. This is how knowledge takes place. That means a Vritti, a thought of knowledge should be there, and an object should be there. So Jnana Vritti and Jnana Vishaya both have got a sambandha. When they have a connection between a Vritti and an object, that is called as Pratyaksha. That means the eyes are seeing the object, the thought is generated, and then that is what is called as Jnana. So let us apply this to Brahma Jnana. He says, Guru says, Tattvamasi. That means you are that pure consciousness. And Sishya, what does he say? Guru says you are that. Sishya says, Aham Brahma Asmi. I am that Brahman. Then the student says, what happens? A vritti, a thought is generated in the mind of a student. And there is Brahman, there is pure consciousness as a Vishaya. Vishaya means it is existing. It is not something which is not there. It is not a non-existent object. It is existence. It is existing. That means pure consciousness is my nature. That vritti, that means there is a thought and there is an object, and both of them have got a sambandha. Therefore, aham brahmasmi knowledge is valid. It is aparoksha jnanam. It is not some Brahman somewhere. It is me. Like a 10th man story, many of you know the story. Like the 10th man, I mean, those who know that there are, the 10th man says, I am the 10th man who was thought to be lost. So similarly, aham brahmasmi is a shabda jnanam, and words can give knowledge. That is the fundamental essence of this topic. That means the Upanishadic words can teach me who I am, and I can acknowledge that I am that pure consciousness. Even though it is not, and this knowledge is not through the sense organs. It is not pratyaksha, like the eyes are not seeing Brahman. The ears are not hearing Brahman. But the ears are hearing words which describe this consciousness. So in meditation, never try to see Brahman, hear Brahman, nothing. That is, I mean, that is the corollary to this. The only way in meditation, or you can learn more about your nature, is aham brahma asmi. That's all. Bring that vritti, that thought when you generate manifests consciousness. Consciousness cannot be directly revealed. That thought reveals the nature of the thought, vritti. That thought, aham brahmasmi thought, reveals, manifests my nature as consciousness, which is revealing a thought. Keno Upanishad also says the same thing. Knowing Brahman is claiming I am Brahman without objectification. That means you don't try to create another object called as Brahman. Just remain silent. After saying aham brahmasmi, remain silent. That silence is called as consciousness. That silence is nothing else but absolute silence. It is not relative silence, because Brahman happens to be that absolute final entity of this whole universe. It is the substratum from where the whole universe is coming every day for us. We wake up in the morning, again the universe comes, again goes back to that Brahman, again it comes up, again it goes back. This is the phenomena of the world which is happening. I keep on looking at myself as a body and I get lost. But the moment the teacher tells me that this is how you re-look at yourself, not as the body, but look at yourself as the consciousness. That is the role of the Upanishads, that's the role of the Bhagavad Gita. Both of them are teaching this pure consciousness, but here in this Vichara Sagara, the author has a very unique way of going into the knowledge itself and then going into the mind and analyzing the mind. How does the vrittis go out of the mind, reveal the object, and then you just hold on to that consciousness as your own nature. That is how they reveal in the 4th chapter. So Tattvadrishti heard this Mahavakyam from the Guru and he gained this knowledge and he became Muktaha. Mukta means he became free. He was the eldest son of the king. You remember the king had three sons. The three sons, the eldest one got freed because he realized that he is that pure consciousness through the Mahavakya Vichara, Tattvamasi. He realized he is the pure consciousness and that which is the substratum for the entire universe of the three states. Waking, dream, and sleep is coming and going in the three states. The world is what the three, a world is nothing but the body and mind together with the universe is called as the world. The waker's world, the dreamer's world, and the sleeper's world. The main thing in this analysis is you take yourself as pure consciousness, the body and the mind, you put it together with the world. Normally, we think world means something outside me. So in this analysis, for the highest student, the teacher says, take your body also as a part of the universe, mind also as a part of the universe. And then you try to analyze, then your analysis becomes very simple. Atma, Anatma, Vivekaha. It becomes simpler. Atma is the pure consciousness, Anatma is the matter principle. The matter principle comes and goes in waking, dream, and sleep. In sleep, it is pure ignorance. In dream, it is pure mind, which is throwing vasanas out, projections. In the waking, the sense organs come into play. So that is how the three states come and go, but you are that substratum. You can know that you can realize the self as pure consciousness by holding on to that one power, which is the core of this entire universe. Okay, a few highlights. Some people wanted to know a little bit deeper of this fourth chapter, so I got two highlights here. One is dealing with. I'll explain to you as we go by. I've got two highlights, and then we will do chapter 5. The two highlights I'll see if I can cover today. In topic number 160 of chapter 4, Vedanta, you see, till this topic of 160, there was a lot of analysis of how error takes place. How knowledge takes place is one, which we have seen. How error takes place is lot of discussion takes place. I'm not bringing that because again those are all very, very big topics. Here we are going to study a little bit about Adhara and Adhishthanam. These are two Sanskrit words which are used in the scriptures. It has got a slight relevance which I will explain to you because it will help me to understand Aham Brahmasmi. This is a rope, this is snake. Let's take this example of two statements when we make. Then we will say this is how it happens to, this is Brahman and this is world. This is how we will try to understand this four sentences. This is rope, this is snake, this is Brahman, this is world. These are the four sentences we are going to analyze in this portion. When we say that this is rope, Samanya Amsha, I'm using a little bit of Sanskrit because without Sanskrit I cannot explain. Adhara means that this is the general aspect. It is not covered portion. This is common between both. When you say this is rope, this is common, this is common in both. Whereas the Vishesha Amsha, that general Amsha, the Samanya Amsha is called as Adharam, which is the non-covered portion. And it is giving us partial knowledge that there is something. And this is experienced both by a wise man as well as a Agyani. Agyani means he is ignorant. Ignorant as well as wise. Both of them, they see the world and they say this is. One says this is the world, another says this is Brahman. One says this is rope, another says this is snake. So Vishesha Amsha is the Adhishtanam, and Adhara means the general portion, uncovered portion. This is the covered portion. Concealed portion is called as the Adhishtanam. It gives rise to error. Because it is concealed, that means ropeness is concealed, and I mistake it as a snake. And therefore, because of this ignorance of the rope, I project a snake in place of the rope. So this is the example. So Adhishtanam means what? It is the substratum. It is the basis on which the entire knowledge should have taken place. But that is covered. When it is covered by ignorance, I mistake it as a something else. I project. That is what is called as pratibhasikam. I projection. That means my mind projects a thought that it is not a rope, it is something else. This is the example. Now, for the entire universe, this is known, but this is Brahman is not known. That means Adhishtanam is the Brahman. That means the substratum is that pure consciousness. Now, instead of that pure consciousness, in the case of rope, it was substituted as a snake. In the case of Brahman, pure consciousness, which is what is the fact, I am mistaking it as the Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. So the rope is displayed by rope snake. Brahman is displayed as Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Jiva means individual. Jagat means it is the world. Ishvara means the creator. So correct vision and wrong vision. Correct vision is what? This is rope. This is Brahman. This is consciousness, which is appearing. Now, it is appearing as a snake. That means I am mistaking it as a snake. So there is a Samanya Amsha and a Vishesha Amsha. There is this is Samanyam. This portion is not covered. This is. That means all of us know there is something. But there is consciousness we don't know. That is called as the Vishesha Amsha. That is the particular significance is not known. Therefore, I am mistaking it as a world. A world is nothing else but as a word. So when we say that this is consciousness, this is Brahman, the Satyamsha and the Vishesha Amsha. Satyamsha means it is the uncovered portion. Vishesha Amsha means it is a covered portion. And what is Mithya? Mithya means projected by the mind. So I am Sat Chit is known, but I am what is not known. Ananda Amsha is not known. That means I am pure bliss is not known. This is what is described in the Dakshinamurti Stotram, verse 3, 6, and 7. So, for those who have done Dakshinamurti Stotram with me, you will remember, now you will remember that whole topic about knowledge. Nana Chit Gatot Rastita Maha Deepak Prabha Baswaram All that is all dealing with the pure consciousness, how it becomes the world. These are the three verses. Yasya Swaranam Sadatmakam, then Balyadishvapi Jagradastata, Rahu Grastha. These are all the verses which describe the covered portion and the Samanya portion. Now, in the case of Brahman, what is the Visesham which is getting covered? Now, the author very beautifully brings out this topic of what is the covered portion which I don't know. See, even in the waking state also, I know I am, but I don't know I am unconnected with the world. Asangoham. I am kutastham. That means I am not changing body, mind. I am changeless consciousness. I don't know this. This is the Visesha Amsham. Then I am beyond time. Like in sleep state, there's no time. I am that pure consciousness, pure existence. But I don't know that I am Nitya. I am eternal. I am beyond time. So that is the Visesha Amsham. Then I am pure. I don't have any punya, papam, no merits, demerits, nothing. All this is all to explain in the beginning stages for a student. Karana Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, Sthula Shariram, all these beginning stages. But after, I don't know. The main thing I don't know is I am Shuddham, pure. Without the body, I am pure. With the mind, I am pure. I am pure consciousness. Muktatvam, I am ever free. I was never born as consciousness. I am always there. But I have ignored this aspect of pure existence and consciousness. That is the Viseshna Amsha. And because of this ignorance of this Visesha Amsha, that I am not free, that I am Shuddham is not known, I am Nityam is not known, therefore I am superimposing something else. What is that? I superimpose the body's attributes as my attributes. I am is Paramarthika Satyam. I am is the pure consciousness, is the higher level of my own. Then what is higher and lower? Higher means when I am not identified with the body and the mind. That is called as Paramarthikam or higher state. What is lower state? Which is called as Vyavaharikam, when I am identified with the body and the mind. So body and mind is a adhyastam, is a superimposition. Sorrow is a superimposition. Anything about the body's conditions, about the mind's condition, they are all superimpositions on that pure consciousness. I superimpose on the pure consciousness and then I have a unitary experience. I am sorrowful. I don't stop with I am, but I add on and then I say I am old, I am. The body is old, no doubt about it, but body is just a medium of transaction. That is what the Guru is trying to teach in this 4th chapter of Vichara Sagara. The mixing up of that pure consciousness with the matter principle is called as mithya. That is, mixing up is what causes sorrow. If that Visesha Amsha is known, Visesha Amsha means the Shuddhatvam, the purity of my own nature, if it is known, then I will never make the mistake. I will say I am a spiritual being, but not a human being. This is where our spiritual study ends. When I know that I am the pure spiritual being, pure consciousness with these Visesham, Shuddhatvam, Aham Shuddhaha Asmi, I am pure. Aham Nityaha Asmi, I am eternal. Aham Muktaha Asmi, I am free, ever free, not today, not this minute. So moksha or liberation is only owning up my nature of pure nature of myself. With the body, identification is only an identification. It is an intellectual process. The whole study is an intellectual process. It's a cognitive change. Once I am able to understand clearly this cognitive change, transformation will happen. Guaranteed. Transformation will happen in the mind of a seeker. He will no longer be confused who he is. This is what is beautifully described in the Upanishads. Some of the mantras I put here. I alone am taught in the different Vedas. This is from Kaivalya Upanishad. I am the real knower of the Vedas. Then there is no earth, no water, no fire, no air, no ether. These are all objects which are perceived by the sense organs. Na bhumirapo na chavanyasti. This is all from Kaivalya Upanishad. Very beautiful verses. Only you try to understand with the reference point of pure consciousness. Vedanta is very simple if you shift the reference point from the body and mind to pure consciousness. And then you can understand all these verses very easily. Even in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, I am without legs. I am also with legs. I am also without legs. I mean, here in Kaivalya Upanishad, Apani Padam Aham Achintya Rupam, all this is what it says, that I, the pure consciousness, appear as this whole universe with the whole variety. I, the pure consciousness, am ever pure knowledge. I can appear as the world. I can also be as the pure consciousness. So this is what is the climax of Vichara Sagara in topic number 162. It teaches me that what is known to everybody is the isness. I am is known. What is not known is the adhishtanam of Atma, which is the Visesha Amsha, which is the Kutastham, that is substratum, pure, eternal, Purnaha, full. It doesn't require, Atma doesn't require anything to become full. It is the nature of Atma to be happy, that is the nature. You cannot stop the nature. This is concealed and then it is replaced by Aham Jivaha. So this aspect of Visesha Amsha, which is covered, has to be discovered. I have to remove this covering and then realize Aham Brahma Asmi. If I do this, then what will I say? I will say, I, the pure consciousness, the pure existence, I lend the easiness to the waking state, I lend the easiness to the dream state, I lend the easiness to the sleep state. I have the ability to withdraw the easiness, consciousness from the waking state. What happens then? Then the waking state collapses. I withdraw from the dream state, the dream collapses. Dream is withdrawn. I, pure consciousness, withdraw from the sleep state, sleep collapses. Then who am I? I am the non-variable, which is my real nature. Non-variable what? I am Sat, Chit, Anand. And who experiences the world? That is another topic. In the case of sentient objects, the observer will be different from the Adhara and Adhisthana. Suppose it is a rope snake, which is, in this example of rope snake, you need to have a separate observer. In the case of a sentient ashraya, that means in the case of a waker, you don't require a separate observer. The observer is the waker, ashraya from the dream. I, the waker, am projector, supporter, and the experience of the dream, which we all will accept. I am the adhara, I am the adhisthana, I am the experiencer of the dream world. What happens in waking? I, the Atma, pure consciousness, am the projector of the waking world, projector of sustainer of the waking world, and the experience of the waking world, exactly like the dream. But here it is Atma. In the case of dream, it is waker. This is how we should understand that during Ajnana Kali, Ajnana means when I'm ignorant, what happens? I am is still known, Anavratamsha, that means it is not covered, but the Visesha Amsha, that means Nityatvam, Muktatvam, Kutastam, just now we explained all this, that is covered, that is called as Adhishthanam, and it is the same because it is the sentient sentient principle involved. You don't need a separate observer. That Atma itself becomes the observer in the waking state. That is what is taught here. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, when we hear that the Lord does nothing, Lord means pure consciousness. I do nothing at all. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit. I am now going through some of the verses, which when we study the Gita, it might have been extremely difficult. That these are the verses which are very difficult to understand when you are learning the Gita. But when we learn the advanced text, these verses, the meaning becomes very clear because we understand what is covered portion, and now we are looking at it is very easy. As pure consciousness, I can say all the seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, all this is happening in Vyavahara. But it is what? It is the senses are moving among the sense object. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante. Very important verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna, saying that the sense organs and the sense objects are interacting. You are the pure consciousness who is not involved in this action of fighting the war. Know that you are not the doer, not the enjoyer of the fruits of actions. Claim your real nature, and that is the nature of all the people who are fighting the war. This is spiritual knowledge which was taught by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, that you are a spiritual being. All this is happening in a lower world. It is all mithya, it is an appearance. Vishwan Darpana Drishyamana Nagari is also explaining to us the same ashraya and the adhishthanam. Same. Once you understood so far, you can understand the verses now, bring back the verses which we have learned in the past, and then accept that this is what is being taught, and my nature is what is described in those verses. So what is the meditation which a person who has realized this Atma, how will he meditate? He will say, I am Ekatma, one Atma. But I have got two Shaktis. One is called as a Nidra Shakti, which creates the dream. Another is called as a Maya Shakti, which creates the waking. When world is switched off, I am in Sushupti. That means I am neither the waker or the dreamer. When the world is switched on, I am the Swapna or Jagrat. That means I have a switch. Like you have a remote control for the TV, you as pure consciousness, you can, as Ekatma, one pure consciousness, which is the substratum of the entire universe, you can claim both the Shaktis are with one entity, which is Atma. Then you can understand I am the projector's sustainer experience, PSE, of the three worlds. And all this verses of Kaivalya Upanishad becomes so simple to understand. Verse 19, 20, 21. I am without hands and legs means I am that pure consciousness. I am neither small or big. Again, consciousness, it refers to the consciousness. In me alone, everything is born. In me alone, everything sustains. In me alone, everything resolves. Again, as Brahman, pure consciousness. So this is how the knowledge takes place at an initial stage and at an advanced stage. At an advanced stage, Sakshi Chaitanyam becomes the essence of the entire creation. There are more details which are mentioned in this section. I am not going into those details because I have covered the essence of the portion here. Then in one of the topics there, it says in topic 165, the Guru says, once a prapancha, that prapancha means world, is understood as mithya. Mithya means appearance. You don't require, no effort is required to remove it because it is an appearance. It will go. Like Rajju Sarpa is not there to remove it. With knowledge, I understand there is no snake to eliminate. It is inappropriate to entertain a desire to eliminate a mithya vastu. Mithya means what? It is an appearance which is happening. And this happening is because of the law of karma. That is how they explain the world. If you are looking at the world and you want to understand the world in detail, then you use the then you use the law of karma. If you want to go look at who you are finally as a spiritual being, then you come to Upanishads. Okay, then there is a lot of other analysis due to paucity of time. I'm not going to the depth of all these verses here. Essence, like I said, that which I have already taught so far, the essence is pure consciousness is appearing as this Jiva Jagat Ishvara. The 7 stages which I was discussed, just to give you a little bit slightly more detail, I will try to give you in about 10 to 15 minutes. What are the 7 stages of a Jiva? One, the first thing you should understand is that the Jiva is reflected consciousness and reflected mind. And the original consciousness does not have ignorance or gains jnanam. It has no samsara, it is a different level of existence. Pure consciousness is at a higher level. Now, Atma Jnanam is gained by the ahamkara, the ego. That is the first thing you should understand. The 7 stages are described here. The first stage is Ajnanam. That means Ajnanam, ignorance is a condition of the mind. It's a condition of the mind before the Jnanam comes. So the first stage is what? I am ignorant about pure consciousness. If you ask a layman today outside, do you know pure consciousness? He'll say, no, I don't know. So it's a mental expression. With respect to the world, our spiritual knowledge is, we are ignorant of our spiritual knowledge. So it is, the Ajnanam is centered on the subject. Who am I? That means I, the pure being, is not known. That is Ajnana. Then Avaranam means what? It is covering, Avaranam is with reference to the object of concealment. Whenever I say something is covered, that means there is some object which is covered. In this case, it is Atma which is covered. Now, the third stage is Because Atma is covered, there is a delusion. My mind projects what it says that I am the body. It says I am the mind. It is a notion born in the mind, which is called as delusion, Bhranti. Then the teacher comes and teaches me that there is something called as Atma. That when the teacher says there is something, then what happens is we get indirect knowledge about ourselves. Then then the teacher teaches me how to look at myself as Atma. When I look at myself as Atma, that is called as Aparoksha Jnana, direct knowledge without any medium. Medium is not the body, it is not the mind, but it is the pure consciousness without the body and mind. When when I tell myself I am that pure consciousness, that is called as direct knowledge. When I have this direct knowledge, what happens? Shokha nashaha. That means my sorrows end, because all my sorrows is only because I've been identified with the mind as me. That is what gets destroyed. That notion that I am the body or mind gets destroyed. The last portion is ati harsha, that means sukha prapti. Sukha means happiness. Actually, it is not gained, it is only known that I am that Atma all the time. When Shokanasha or the Sukha Prapti happens, that is called as the moksha state. This corridor, when the knowledge comes to me, that means the fourth and the fifth stage is called as the corridor stage. And the first three stages are called as samsara. Samsara consists of what? Three things. Ajnanam, avaranam, bhranti. This is what is generally called as ahamkara. Aham and mama. In the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this was the problem of Arjuna. Ahamkara was the problem for Arjuna. It is the same problem for all of us. So these three stages, if I learn these 6-7 stages in an intensive way, this is taught in Panchadasi chapter 7, I think. And it's another text by Swami Vidyaranya. He does an extremely beautiful analysis. There are 15 chapters in Panchadasi. Originally, I had thought of taking that also as a part of my series of talks this time, but then, taking that 15 chapters will take a long time. So I decided to take that up maybe at a future time, at some other time. So this is how the 7 stages of a spiritual journey is explained, and which is taken up by Nishala Dasa in this text. In these topics of 192 onwards, he takes this and he says that covering negates the existence of Brahman. Because then what do we say? The Brahman and all is all bluff. Why? Because this of covering. Suppose you ask a layman, is there Brahman? Is that pure consciousness? No, he says there's nothing called that. Nothing exists like pure consciousness, Nirguna Brahman, nothing. So avaranam is the cause for this. And then the person also says, I don't experience Brahman. Again, this is because of covering. So because of this covering, because of this ignorance, which is called as covering, the third stage comes in, which is projection, Bhranti. These are all the explanation for those 7 stages. At the Vyashti level, we call it Adhyasa of birth. At the Samashti level, we call it the superimposition of creation itself. So it is the projecting power of the ignorance of Atma, which is creating a superimposition of birth of the body, creation of the universe. Very deep thought process in all this. If you study this, your mind will become more sharper and sharper. And this is how purity of the mind takes place. When the mind learns to dwell more deeper about this ignorance, about the projection of the mind, what happens is the purity grows. Asamskritam manaha becomes samskritam manaha. Pure, it becomes more refined mind. What happens is Avarna Shakti is the cause of the projection. It is a cause of superimposition, and there is mithya appearance takes place. Like a rope snake, we see the whole waking state. Sopna and Jagrat happens, both are ignorance. There is ignorance in dream, there is ignorance in waking. The ignorance in waking is of Atma. The ignorance in dream is of Veka. When this ignorance goes away, then we realize our true nature. So what is negated by knowledge comes under Sat Asat Vilakshanam. Rope, snake, shell, silver, mirage, water, dream, waking, sleep, all these are all explained by one word, mithya. And Kathopanishad says, arise, awake, awake to your higher nature of Atma. All this is nothing else but seemingly existent. What is seemingly existent, what is mithya or an appearance is called as anirvachaniyam. Anirvachaniyam means it cannot be explained how it happens. It happens. That is why we say it's a phenomena. Waking is a phenomena taking place. Dream is a phenomena taking place. Through the mind alone, we can realize the Atma. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says this. Kaivalya says that there is no earth or water. All the five elements are nothing but Atma. Ishavasya Upanishad says, when to the knower of all beings, the Atma becomes known, then he says there is no grief, there is no sorrow in life. Anupashyataha, this is a very beautiful Sanskrit word. By mere knowledge, one can know this Atma. I alone exist as Brahman. World is Bhranti. I alone exist as Brahman. Waking up from the waking dream is called as Advaitam. The most powerful argument of Advaitam is that I wake up from my waking dream itself. This is what was taught to Sanat Kumara to Narada, and where the teacher Sanat Kumara says, all you have known is only objective knowledge. Now I will teach you Bhuma Vidya. Bhuma Vidya is nothing else but Atma Vidya. So for samsara nivarti, you require this Aham Brahmasmi Jnanam. And when this Jnanam comes, you break the three knots in the heart, in the intellect. We break the Ajnanam goes away, then that means the covering goes away. The three knots are Ajnanam, Karma, and Kama and Karma. That means Ajnanam, Kama, Karma, three knots goes away. And then you can happily say that I don't do anything. It is all done by the sense organs and the sense objects. Finally, Mandukya Upanishad says, Mithya does not have existence, it does not have origination, it has only appearance. That means the world has no existence, it has no origination, it is only appearing and disappearing. Because of what? One Shakti. There is one power in this universe that is called as Maya Shakti. And it belongs to the one who claims that he is Brahman. Gita also talks about Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam. This verse is very famous. It is all teaching about the pure consciousness. And then the Lord Krishna says that anybody who has learned this knowledge of Atma, he is immortal. All scriptural statements, they reveal only this pure consciousness, and the Utthamadhikari focuses on the pure self as Sat, Chit and Ananda, and he gets liberated. What happens to the Madhyamadhikari, the intermediate student who doesn't have a clear knowledge of the scriptures? That we will see next time in the 5th chapter, where a medium student who doesn't have the qualifications at a super level, he is like us, who is trying to learn about this consciousness. For him, the Guru teaches in another way. That we will see in the next week in chapter 5. We'll try and wrap up Vichara Sagara next week. Next week happens to be the 23rd of September. We will try and close this next week. 30th September, we will start a new text, which I have promised before, Sat Darshanam by Ramana Maharishi. Very beautiful text. How to remove the ego. I mean, for those of you who have done the Vichara Sagara with me now, it's very easy. But we'll see how he develops that topic. So next week, we will do 5, 6, and 7. 6 and 7 is just one page, one slide. I will show you, that's it. But chapter 5, we will discuss slightly. This is what we will discuss next week. With this, we will close for the day, and then if there are any questions, I will take it up. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamathaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Let me see if there are any. There's one question in the chat board. Avarana means Maya. Yes. Avarana means concealing power of Maya. It is Maya means it is a Shakti of pure consciousness, and which is the creator of this entire universe. And this Shakti, when it operates, it covers, it conceals the real nature of the holder of the Shakti. For example, when I'm using my talking power, talking is a power in me. Listening is a power in you. So my talking power, your listening power, all these are all powers. So when we are acting using this power, our nature of pure consciousness gets covered. So avarana means concealing power. It conceals the reality. And when it conceals the reality, the second power becomes active. And that is what is called as projecting. I don't know myself. Therefore, I project so many things and then I suffer. I am this, I am that, I am so and so, all because of projections, projections. Suppose you learn about yourself as pure consciousness, the projecting will stop. It will stop. That is what the Upanishad says. It's a fact. So those people who know that they are pure consciousness, they will not have so much of suffering in life because of projections. See, prarabdha karma will bring some pain to the body, some sorrows will happen, that at the lower level of consciousness. But the moment I realize that I am that pure consciousness through this study, see, the study is extremely important because it helps me to remove this covering. This covering is in the intellect of all of us. The words of the scriptures, they help me to remove this covering. There is nothing in the universe which will remove the covering. Nothing. And the Mahavakya analysis, the most important portion of the scriptural study. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, 14, and 15, the most important for a seeker. That is where Lord Krishna teaches Arjuna that you are the spiritual being. Remove your cover of ignorance and know you are, and then you act in the world. The body is going to anyway act because that's a prarabdha of the body. Okay, any other questions? If anybody has a question, you can ask now.
Secondly,
Huh? Yes?
how do we remove the ignorance, as you say?
How do we remove the ignorance? How do we remove the ignorance, right? Okay, the ignorance is removed by listening again and again to the scriptures. That means I keep on listening to the Bhagavad Gita, keep on listening to the Upanishads, I keep on listening about Atma. The more I listen about Atma, what will happen is my intellect will understand Atma slowly. It will not happen immediately. It will happen, it's a gradual process. Any knowledge happens gradually. So my ignorance about Atma will go and I will know. This is what is said in the scriptures, and I have to take it as a fact. It happens. All I can do is go through the process. So it is.
One more question is, one more question, Zikaji.
हाँ बोलो.
Do you think that if the more we think of Brahma can reveal Brahma?
Yes, the more you think about this Atma, about this Brahman, about this pure consciousness, that thought will reveal to you that it is there. See, there is something in this universe which I don't know that it is there. Now, all this study which I am doing it is revealing that to me that it is there. So when my mind keeps on thinking about it, then it will reveal. For example, suppose you want to know, a little bit more about what is happening with your neighbor. You will go and ask him. Your mind will start interacting with him. Then you will know what is happening with him. So similarly, about Atma, the more my mind thinks, this is what is said about the Atma. The more you listen, what will happen is this thinking will happen automatically. You don't have to do anything. After some time, the thinking is an automatic process which happens in the mind. And then that thought itself will guide you towards Atma. It's very, very powerful.
So in a way, it's like a desire to see Brahma.
Yes, the desire to see the Lord, the in me. See, that is very important. I should slowly develop that desire. Oh, Lord, you're saying so much in the Gita that you are in me. How come I am not realizing you? That keen desire
Yeah,
is
that is
called as
dangerous.
mumukshatvam.
Mr. Shekhar, Raman Maharishi used to say that through self-inquiry, the thoughts and the ego dissolves into the consciousness.
Yes.
The process of inquiring itself reveals the I-ness of the consciousness.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, like all whatever we have studied, the method of inquiry. See, this method of inquiry to is the final step. Bhakti
This
will
is the
lead.
process.
It will lead me to this jnanam, and this final inquiry is what will lead. It will happen. Everybody. It will happen through this process only.
So you had said that the Brahman has two Shaktis, the Avarna Shakti, which is the concealing power.
Yes.
And Maya Shakti is Avarna Shakti. Maya Shakti is also.
No, one is called as the concealing power, which is called as the Avarna Shakti. The second is called as Vikshepa Shakti.
Vikshesha means projecting.
Yeah, Vikshepa means projecting.
Yeah. So where does Maya come?
Yeah, Maya is the holder. It's a common name of the two.
Okay, so you're saying Brahman has a
Maya Shakti.
Maya, which has
Maya Shakti. Yes, Maya Shakti has got these two nature. One is concealing, another is projecting. Maya is nothing else but the entire material world. All matter is Maya.
Shaivism also talks about the five Shaktis also. The
concealing, yes,
destruction, and then the creation.
That's correct. The five Shakti is basically the two becomes five, nothing else.
Yeah, that's it. And that again comes from consciousness.
Yes, it comes from consciousness and then it goes back. That's it.
It is a cycle of this thing.
Yes, the moment you know that there is one common thing called as Atma.
So this is different from that 5 steps, Shaivism?
No, it is ultimately, if you go deeper, it will all be the same.
It's all the same. Okay.
If you study Shaivism deeply, you will come to this to Maya only. Because ultimately, it is the same Upanishads which is coming out in different forms. Any other question?
Yeah, Shekhar.
Yeah.
I just want to know, when you have reflected the consciousness and then the and then the witness itself.
Yeah.
Main thing is to go into our real nature. We have to concentrate on the witness consciousness, isn't it?
Yes, you have to own yourself. I am the witness. That's it. Yeah, you have to say, I am the witness.
I'm the witness.
Yes, and then what will happen is the reflecting consciousness will go away.
Will go away, is it?
It will disappear. It will disappear. What you have to say is, I am the witness consciousness. Aham Brahma Asmi. When you say this, what will happen is that reflection will go away and you will remain as Brahman. That's all.
Oh, that is the idea, is it?
Yes, that will happen because you see, you should understand a reflection in the mirror is trying to reveal you, the original.
Correct.
So similarly, when you say Aham Brahmasmi, the vritti which is there, it is revealing the original consciousness.
Oh, the vritti itself.
Yes, the vritti, the thought. That is why don't try to say I am the blankness. Say I am the sakshi of blankness.
I wasn't very clear on that. What you said, that the vritti which is enclosed and vritti which is sort of.
Yeah. You see, this is a technical term. Even Rohit is asking the same question. There are two things which happen one is called as vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. Now these are two processes. Even I took a long time to understand these two things. Only when I studied Vichara Sagara, I came to know what this is, because I was struggling with these two words myself for a very long time. Almost like, I've heard it in so many different texts, but in this particular text, the author brings it out so beautifully, you can never get confused after that. What it says is, you see, first of all, you should understand there is consciousness. That consciousness is, first of all, it's getting reflected in my mind. That means I have some power. That power is in me, is the consciousness. It's like the electricity in a bulb. Same like electricity is called as consciousness in this body. Now, that is the only thing. In the 4th chapter, the Vichara Sagara clearly talks about consciousness as the ultimate, and that is there in each one of us. So the starting point is, there is a power in me, there is consciousness in me. I am that pure consciousness. If I know I am that pure consciousness, I am liberated. I am free today. The moment I drop my identification with this body and mind, I can remain as pure consciousness throughout my life. Because I know the teaching is given by God. It is a fact of this creation, and I am that is the final knowledge. Now, what is vritti vyapti? Vritti vyapti means this consciousness is now reflected in my mind, which is an instrument. Now, when the thought is remaining inside, it is only called as consciousness. When the thought goes through the mind, through the eyes or the ears, it goes to the object, the sense object. That is called as vritti vyapti. That means it is a thought going through the sense organs, and it is going outside.
This is the
It is a vritti. It is a perception. The vritti means it is a beam of consciousness going through this eyes is one beam. Another beam is going through the ears. Another beam is going through the nose. Another beam is going through the 5 sense organs, 5 beams, like you have 5 torch lights.
Mr. Shekhar, this is also in Drig Drishya Viveka, the whole process.
Yeah. This is also there also it comes. So when the 5 beams are going out, the beam going out is called as vritti vyapti.
Which means revealing the object.
No. Vritti vyapti is not revealing the object. That is called as phala vyapti.
So when my thought is going out externally,
it is only up to the object. That means it is the vritti which goes through the sense organs. It reaches up to the time where it reaches the sense object. The term is called as vritti vyapti. It means it's pervading the object. Then once the vritti is in the sense object, the moment it touches the sense object, then sense object becomes illumined. That it is white in color. I have a mouse. So this white color is revealed. It's an object. Once that revelation happens, then that is called as phala vyapti. Till the vritti goes and touches the mouse from my mind, till it reaches, it is called as vritti vyapti. That means it's pervasion. The whole world is being pervaded by consciousness. That pervasion of consciousness is called as vritti vyapti. Vyapti means pervasion. So this is the job of a vritti. Now, okay, I'll go a little bit deeper now. The deeper aspect is as follows. This vritti, when it is going out, it has got two things. It has got the consciousness part and it has got the thought part. When the beam is going out, it has got two parts. One is the consciousness which is going through it. Another is the thought which is going through it. But the function of the thought which goes and pervades the object, the function of that is to just pervade the object, not reveal. Revelation of the object is done by the consciousness part. Phala Vyapti is done by the consciousness part. Reflected consciousness functions in the thought and it reveals the object. I see you today right now in a picture. My mind is seeing your picture. The thought is going, the sense organs are perceiving you, your face. You are perceiving me, I am perceiving you. The sense organs do the functions of perception.
Okay. Okay.
It is called as vritti vyapti.
I've understood.
And the consciousness is revealing your face to me. Revelation is only by consciousness. It cannot be by vritti. It cannot be by a thought.
Is vritti cognizing is vritti?
Yes, cognizing process is vritti vyapti. Phala vyapti is a result of that vritti vyapti.
So you're saying that, okay, so the illumination comes in because only of consciousness.
Yes, illumination comes because of consciousness and the thought.
And the thought. So you're saying that consciousness, that when the mind gives rise to that thought, when I see an object,
yes,
the eye see the object,
yes,
but the mind cognizes it. The
yes.
mind cognization is the thought that emerges from the consciousness.
Exactly.
Which then projects the light
Yes.
of that consciousness. It's
That's
like
right.
a projector. It's like
Exactly.
a projector.
Yes.
But the actual illumination is now not the role of that vritti. It is the consciousness that gives that intellectual understanding of that.
That's correct. You got it.
Okay.
But basically, ultimately, if you just understand there's only one consciousness, which is the ultimate thing, and that is this is just a process of how knowledge takes place.
This is two steps actually, that in continuation.
Yes.
This is a two-step continuation delineated to the point that finally, when the mind cognizes it, that cognition itself is only through consciousness.
Yes.
It cannot, by itself, the vritti is dead. Vritti is not independent. It is not independent, it is dependent on consciousness.
Yes.
That's what it's trying to do.
That is I've explained to you two stages. There is a third stage. I'll explain that also.
Okay.
The third stage is what happens when you say Aham Brahma Asmi. You close your eyes and say, I am that pure consciousness. I am that pure consciousness. I am that pure consciousness. You are saying verbally, a thought is coming in your mind. Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham Chaitanyam Asmi. I am that pure consciousness. In the case of this thought, what they say is, there is only vritti vyapti, there is no phala vyapti. Because consciousness is not going to illumine consciousness. So there is no illumining happening when you say Aham Brahmasmi. Therefore, Aham Brahmasmi thought is manifesting consciousness. It is not revealing consciousness. Whereas in the case of other objects, consciousness flowing through the mind reveals objects. Then the case of my own revelation, no, nothing is required. Vritti is only a medium for me to know I am that pure consciousness without any medium, which is what I am in my sleep state without the mind.
You're basically saying that subject cannot reveal subject.
Exactly. You don't need a light to illumine another light.
You
It
need
is,
an object for a subject to be there, but when you are
yes,
themselves a subject,
that's
you're saying,
correct. All this is only to remove the ignorance which I have in my sleep state. By knowing this process, what I am learning is how do I remove that ignorance which is there in the sleep state. And all of us have the experience. You see, you are, when you go to sleep, you know that you are Brahman, you are that pure state. I also know you. Rohit also goes to sleep. He is also same. That pure state is even now. It is pure. It is there. But my mind, because of the power of the mind, that consciousness is so powerful. The sense organs become so powerful that it forgets its own nature. It forgets that it is that pure consciousness. So in the fourth chapter, the whole study is only the how knowledge takes place. Theory of knowledge is emphasized in the fourth chapter for the highest seeker.
in Mahavakyas, the whole idea of say Mahavakya was as a part of understanding and illuminating your own true nature.
Yeah.
Why did it not become the Maha Mantra? Why can I not then? Why do I have to keep on saying Om Namah Shivaya as a process?
No, Om Namah Shivaya is only purifying the mind, but it will not tell you who you are.
So you are saying that the only I am that is the only.
Exactly. I am that. Aham Brahmasmi is the only thought which can reveal. Om Namah Shivaya is a stepping stone for Aham Brahmasmi. When you chant Om Namah Shivaya in your mind continuously for 10 years, or you chant the Gayatri Mantra for 10 years, it will bring a guru, it will bring the teaching of the Upanishads to you. You will get that knowledge. Whether you like it or not, it will happen. When you're ready, the guru will be in front of you and he will say, this is what you are. And you will understand.
In fact, in Kashmir Shaivism, Mr. Shekhar, the whole mantra Om Namah Shivaya is, I bow to the universal consciousness, Shiva,
Yes.
Bhairava, who lives in me as me.
That's it. You're realizing the same self. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that is the one ultimate meaning.
Yes.
Of Om.
Absolutely.
So this is a very interesting thing what you said, this two-part process you're saying, or rather three parts of Vyapti and Phalam. This is a very interesting, significant point you mentioned.
It's a technique by which
this hasn't been explained in Drigdrishya.
No, it's not been explained.
I wonder why they didn't take it there, because this was so much part of that.
No, this is these are all later aspects. This has happened in the last 150 years.
Okay, this is another.
This is a post Shankara methodology of teaching Mahavakya. This is post Shankara. This is only 150 years old. Shankara's time is 2,500 years old.
Yeah.
So I think there is only one subject, and hence there is no necessity to reveal itself. Yeah, okay, you can say that. There is only one subject, there is only one ultimate the essence of this universe, and it is self-evident. See, the main thing you should not forget is that it is self-evident, which is what we are. You see, in your sleep, it is self-evident. I am self-evident. I exist, I know. Only thing is, I don't know that I am covered. You see, if I know I am covered, then no Mahavakya, nothing is required. Suppose we all didn't have the covering in our sleep. Suppose God had created the world without ignorance. All of us will be jnanis. All of us will know that this world is okay. It's an experience for some activity which has to happen, and we are all liberated people. Rohit, did you understand your question, or are you still confused?
I understood, Shekharji. I had a follow-up question just below my
Yeah,
original. You briefly mentioned about the analysis of the, you were explaining vritti, vyapti and phala vyapti with reference to the deep sleep state. Could you
Yes.
elaborate on that?
See, deep sleep state, there is no vritti vyapti, there is no phala vyapti. It is completely, mind is not there. There is in deep sleep state, there is no, this process doesn't happen. In deep sleep state, what happens is Maya Shakti is there. In deep sleep state, there is a Sukshma Vritti which is called as ignorance Vritti. I don't know myself, I don't know the world is a Karana Sharira Vritti. It is not a Sukshma Sharira Vritti. The process of Vritti Vyapti, Phala Vyapti is there for Sukshma Sharira Vritti. That means of the subtle body, the mind, this process is explained. For the Karana Sharira Vritti, which is I don't know myself, it is a Vritti again.
Tula Sharira.
Yeah, for Karana Shariram, for the Karana Sharira Vritti, that is what is called as ignorance. That is also called as, that Karana Shariram is also called as Maya. It is also called as Mula Avidya. It is also called as Prakriti. All these are all only names. You know, in the chapter 13th of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Prakriti and Purusha, "Oh Lord, teach me what is Prakriti, what is Purusha." Prakriti means that Maya Shakti. It is the same ignorance. Tell me what is ignorance and what is Chaitanya. What is Chetanam, what is Achetanam. So in the case of Karana, in the sleep state, your question, this process is not there. There the process is I am ignorant. There is only one vritti which is illumined by whom? It is illumined by Sakshi. Sakshi is always the revealer of all vrittis of all the bodies. Whether it is the vritti of the Sthula Shariram, which is the vritti of the sense objects.
It says
Whether
one constant.
So whether it is a vritti of the Sukshma Shariram of the mind, or if it is a vritti of the Karana Shariram, it is always Sakshi which reveals it. So the revelation is purely Sakshi revelation of the sleep state. Sleep state is nothing else but the same mind is just sleep, is in a passive form, unmanifest. Another word which is used for Maya Shakti is Avyaktam. Avyaktam, Maya, Prakriti, Mula, Vidya, all these are nothing but only one Shakti. That's it.
Shekharji, I have...
And that Shakti is this consciousness.
You, Mr. Shekhar, just one more point. You mentioned the third point of this. You said there's another point. I'm just forgetting that. What did you say?
The Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti. The third point is when it comes to Aham Brahmasmi knowledge, that there is no Phala Vyapti there, there is only Vritti Vyapti. That means consciousness is illumining that.
It doesn't reveal itself, so they can only. There is nothing to reveal. It is there. Yeah. Okay, understood.
And you see, just now in this.
So it only reveals objects, can't reveal itself, obviously.
Yes, that's correct.
Point taken.
Object is a thought.
Yeah, I've understood. This is a very important point. Yeah, this is understood.
Yeah, Rohit, does it answer you?
Yes, I have one last question, Shekhaji. When you were explaining the spiritual journey of the jiva through the Agyanam, Avritti, Vikshepa, those 7 states, is that for analysis, or like what is the idea behind breaking it down into 7 stages?
Yeah, no, this is just one of the methods. It's called as a prakriya. It is a method to arrive at consciousness. You can arrive at consciousness in many, many different ways. In Panchadasi, there is a text which is written by another Swami of one Shankara Matham, and he is Swami Vidyaranya, who has also written Drigdrishya Viveka. He has given this methodology of 7 steps for revealing consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is another method. It is called as Adhyaropa Apavada method. These are all different methods. So don't worry about it. It's just it is just a methodology.
Is it for the student to place himself or herself along these 7 states and understand what the next process is and so on, to get an idea of the roadmap?
Yes. If you want, you can do that. For that, you have to learn the Panchadasi.
I see.
In Panchadasi, that is very well explained, the 7 stages. And even in Vichara Sagara, in that particular portion where they take the 7 stages, if you go to that portion of my notes also, you can understand it a little bit. But the full depth you will get only in Panchadasi.
Okay.
But what I understand is that you don't think that is important to cover in depth.
Which portion? Panchadasi.
The 7 stages
No. No. I'm just saying that it is one of the prakriyas, one of the methodologies. You can follow it. You need not follow it.
Then which method? Then which would you recommend a methodology that we should do? Or just to say Aham Brahmasmi is enough?
No. That is correct. That's a direct knowledge.
Yeah.
If you can do it, it's fantastic. Aham Brahmasmi is the final step. If you can do it straight away and you know, yes, I can sit in meditation, I can say Aham Brahmasmi and remain. Again say Aham Brahmasmi and remain. Again say Aham Brahmasmi and remain. If you can constantly do this for 10 minutes and you are able to do it successfully, you don't need anything else. Or you can follow whatever you are following of the Shaivite meditations which they prescribe.
Yet it is called Guhyatamam, the secret. I mean, why it is called secretive?
Yes, very good question. Yeah, this is, Sanjeev, your question is very beautiful because this is the secret. You see, the secret is even after explaining so much about consciousness, it still remains a mystery for all of us.
Mr. Shekhar?
Yes. Yeah, Jacqueline?
Oh, okay, sorry, I interrupt. You finish your answer first. Thank you.
Yeah, see, yeah. So what I was saying is, so what I was saying is that it remains as a secret. Guhya tamam. That's what Lord Krishna says. It is a secret of the secrets. Because, first of all, many people will not come to spirituality. Out of thousands, maybe one out of millions, a few come to this study. Out of thousands who study this Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads, they still are groping in the dark because the mind is so powerful, it has got the obstacles, and their deha vimana, mana abhimana is very difficult to cross. Only when you cross the identification with the body and the identification with the mind, then only you can come to this and own up Aham Brahma Asmi. This is a very, it's a secret of the secrets, because if a teacher teaches correctly, then all the seekers will realize. I'm telling you, this is if you take the right texts, even Bhagavad Gita, if you take chapter 13, 14, 15, and you learn all the verses there very clearly and in depth, don't just study superficially, but in depth. Apply the knowledge to yourself. Then the secret gets revealed. Many a times, people just read the Bhagavad Gita like an objective science. You know, you learn physics, you learn chemistry or computer science, you learn Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I've done 18 chapters. I think I should have become Jnani by now. I'm just wondering what happened. Okay, I have not become a Jnani. I'm still there. So this is because it's Guhyam. It is a very, very deep, it's a very, very deep subject matter. But these type of texts, Sajib, it helps a lot, because
yeah, I mean repeated listening.
Yes, repeated listening. You got it. The more you listen to the scriptures again and again and again and again, your mind will get purified. A purified mind is the only instrument to realize consciousness. If the mind is not pure, pure means it has not heard the scriptures enough. In different forms, you have to hear it. In Drigdrishya, in Saddarshanam, in Bhagavad Gita, in Kaivalya Upanishad, in Chandogya Upanishad. But the moment you come to know that it is one consciousness which is the subject matter of all these texts, then only your mind will start focusing on the subject. Because otherwise, you are totally lost. This is where the beauty of a teacher comes in. He will teach in such a way in that he is consistent in teaching the truth. The truth has to be revealed. It has to be revealed to a student in which way he can understand. The truth cannot be missed. So whatever you may be teaching, whatever you may be learning, always reflect on it. Yesterday I listened to a talk. What did I understand? You must reflect, even if it is just for 5 minutes or 2 minutes. That reflection makes a huge difference, because reflection is a second step in our whole knowledge process of learning. So I hope I have answered your question, Sajeev.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, somebody is asking me, Shiva is none other than Atman. He is Manda. Yeah, that's correct. You're right. It is none other than Atman. It is Manaha. Okay. Yeah, Jacqueline, you were asking me something?
Yes, Mr. Shekhar, I think I remember I asked you about Aham Brahma Asmi. Then you were saying that is the best one instead of Oham something, okay? Yeah. So my question to you, I'm just asking, okay? I read somewhere Om. Om is the most powerful in all aspects because it encompasses the whole universe where it started. And so right now, if Om and Aham Brahma Asmi, not asking you for comparison, then what is it?
Okay, your answer is going to be answered in the next chapter 5, where Om meditation is going to be taken.
Okay, because you were talking about Aham Brahma Asmi, which I have done it continuously, and I also read, I know I'm in yoga, and Mr. Atu told us about Om. I did Om, but then because I following, you know the question that I always come from, not that comparing, but because there's so many, so I just we just have to emphasize on one, which may go, may speed us up in all aspects, like meditation. So therefore, recently I just said Om because I thought Om is the biggest subset, is the biggest entity, and Aham Brahma asked me maybe it's a subset of it.
Aham, Aham, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Deepak.
Aham Brahmasmi reveals your true nature, and when it is revealed, it is Om. Is my view. Om is the substratum of all. So Aham Brahmasmi is assertion of I am that.
Yes.
And when I accept that, it is Om. It dissolves in Om.
Yes. You see, Om when you chant. Yes, Om when you chant, if you know the significant meaning of the letters Om, what it signifies, then it is the same as Aham Brahmasmi. The object which Om reveals and the object which Aham Brahma reveals is the same object.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I want to ask.
Yeah,
you know,
it is the same. It is the same. If you chant Om, it is revealing consciousness. If you chant Aham Brahmasmi, it is revealing consciousness. But both are revealing the same consciousness.
Yes, but
in Mandukya, this is explained very well, sir.
Yes, it is a Turiya. Ultimately, it is the Turiyam is Atma. It's the same as Brahman. So, Jacqueline, you can chant Om, but you should understand the meaning of Om is that it is the consciousness. It is the Sat Chit Ananda, which is called as Om. Instead of calling it a Sat Chit Ananda, you're just saying you're using another word. That's all.
Okay. Yes, that's what I want to ask. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you. Okay, it's 8:45. It's let's close for the day. It's a long session and a long question answer, but very well done. I think a lot of interest in this text, and this text is extremely deep. Next week we will close this chapter, and then, like I said, on the 30th of September we'll start Saddarshanam by Ramana Maharishi. There we will do verse by verse, all the verses. See, the teaching is still the same, but once having done Vichara Sagara, you will find it very easy. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, Shivji.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.